Hey, hello, howdy, how you doing? With all the galactic conquests completed without dying, it's time to up the ante. And by that, I mean it's time to play through the canonically non-canon campaign of Star Wars Battlefront 2. We'll be following the 501st Legion as they battle throughout the Clone Wars, eventually turn on the Jedi Order and execute Order 66, and then squash the rebel scum to bring peace, freedom, justice, and security to our new empire. How exciting, isn't that wonderful? Much like the Galactic Conquest series, if I die, I restart the mission. I know for Galactic Conquest, I did the entire conquest, but the campaign is so over-the-top difficult for no reason on Elite difficulty that I gave up on that notion after about 3 days of recording. If you missed what I said because you were too busy rage typing over my last comment, this is all happening on Elite difficulty because I hate myself. Sound like a plan? Good, let's get to it. Now, because I'm sure a few of you like to get your panties in a wad whenever I unlock bonus weapons, I'll be playing through this on a new account, much like how I did with the Galactic Conquests. I'm not sure why it bothers some of you so much, but honestly, it's not even worth wasting energy on, so welcome in new recruit Duke Silver. Not only can he play a mean saxophone, but he also gets to skip the training mission, because while 6-year-old me struggled with it, I might have a semi-understanding as to how to play this game. Our first mission takes place on Oppido, amongst the ruins. We're on the hunt for an experimental power source, but the silly Jedi doesn't know that.
In the waning months of the Clone Wars, the 501st faced missions critical to the agenda of Chancellor Palpatine. When we arrived at the bombed-out ruins of Oppido, our Jedi commander believed we had been sent to take out a droid energy collector. What Ki-Adi-Mundi didn't know, however, was that our unit of the 501st was really after an experimental Oppidan power source that the Chancellor wanted for his super laser. Keeping Mundi in the dark wasn't easy. The Jedi had become increasingly wary of the Chancellor's doings, and were on the lookout for the slightest hint of treachery. Just like the rest of them, though, he never caught whiff of what was really going on, until it was far too late.
I do really love how the campaign is portrayed through the eyes of a clone trooper, and how they actually all know about Order 66 the entire time, but are all just able to hide that amongst the million or so clones that exist.
The area will grind to a halt. Let's move them out. The enemy's forward command post is on the other side of this bridge. We'll have to capture it before moving on.
Even if it's not canon, I still think it's a great story. Anyway, my first attempt went pretty smoothly, and by that I mean I died before completing the first objective of the entire campaign. Off to a great start, as you can tell. Second attempt, same thing. I learned the hard way that you can't spam health packs as an engineer. Like, he literally can't throw them. He does the animation, but nothing drops. On my third attempt, I just said fuck it and sprinted directly into the command post, capturing it and completing the first objective of the campaign. Now, I need to take out particle cannons. Easy enough.
Take out those turrets and clear the deck.
I have the option to spawn in as Ki-Adi-Mundi, or however the hell you pronounce his name, but I chose the far superior Jet Trooper and managed to just go around the barrier and blow up the generator powering it.
Capture the CP. Will serve as an excellent lookout point for our mission.
The early 2000s before we changed abbreviations to things like CP. Gotta love it. None of that matters right now though, because I tried to be funny and used my EMP launcher only to catch a laser to the face. Alright, fourth time's the charm. This time I used that ATRT to run through the droids and capture the command post. From there, I repeated the previous steps of destroying the turrets, taking out the generator, and capturing the command post. Once that was completed, I snuck around back and blew up the remaining generators before destroying the energy core and collecting the sample.
The shields are down. Let's take out the core. Now collect the core samples and return them to the dropship on the other side of the bridge.
All that was left was a mad sprint back to our original spawn to extract the core sample.
Take out that battle droid! Clone, watch your fire! Lead on. Sir, I can see the dropship.
Nicely done, gentlemen. Your work here today has made the Chancellor a very happy man.
And just like that, we've completed our first mission of the playthrough. Only took 40 minutes.
The success of the mission on Megiddo was something of a revelation for the men of the 501st. Suddenly, we realized that the Jedi could be fooled. And if they could be fooled, they could be killed.
Our next mission was a space battle over Coruscant. The best part is that there's an option to simply skip the space battle, but I'd imagine that'd spark mass hysteria and lead to riots, so I'll just bite the bullet and fly.
As the Clone Wars progressed, more and more ground-based legions found themselves pressed into space combat, including the fighting forces of the 501st. For months, every hour of our downtime was spent in the simulator, preparing for the time we would face our enemies from the cockpit of a 170. Finally, the day came to earn our wings. The CIS had staged a daring kidnapping of Chancellor Palpatine and was being escorted from Coruscant by a fleet of separatist ships. With only a few veteran pilots on planet, many of the 501st were pressed into service to drive off the Seps and buy time for a pair of Jedi Knights to rescue the Chancellor.
Get to your ships. The Jedi are depending on you.
The mission kicks off with some simple dogfighting.
Finish off that bomber!
After blowing up multiple enemy fighters, it was on to targeting one of their frigates. Now, after running for my life and narrowly escaping death just to make a few repairs.
Don't let him get a lock!
This happened multiple times. I'd fly out, take a few shots at the frigate, and then retreat back to our cruiser to make repairs after taking a shit ton of damage. It feels like we're just drastically outnumbered here. There's simply too many droid pilots. Now, luckily for me, this is like the space battle tutorial, so there aren't any points for us to lose, which means I could just let the clones do the dirty work for me. This entire mission was a walkthrough of space combat, teaching you how to do the basics like taking out enemy shields and targeting key points on the enemy cruisers, such as the communications array.
Take down the droid communications array. That'll give you an opening.
It then tries to kill you by telling you to land in the enemy hangar, only for it to spawn ships directly beneath you when you try to land.
Attention all pilots! Attention all pilots! Prepare for assault!
From there, you need to destroy the enemy's engines, and I'm dead. I don't know why, but it feels like the droids are so much stronger in the campaign than in the Galactic Conquest. It'd take like 15 more attempts and 2 hours to make it back to where I left off. It also doesn't help that they're hosing me before I can even react. God, I fucking hate space battles. If anything is gonna end up ruining Battlefront 2 for me, it's gonna be these. I get that I'm on elite difficulty, which means the enemy targets me before anyone else, but I feel like I should at least get a chance to counter instead of just dying because 35 fighters felt the need to target one specific clone starfighter instead of the dozens of other ones in the area. I want you to know, and this isn't an exaggeration, Call of Duty World at War on veteran difficulty was not as difficult or time-consuming as these fucking space battles. I'm not even kidding. The best way to even survive this mission was to sit in the cruiser and just wait for the AI to complete the objectives for me. If I even tried to leave the cruiser, I'd be dropped to half health before I could even turn my fighter around. It was ridiculous. Now, as it turns out, even the clones want me to fail. Jesus Christ, dude. This mission alone almost made me scrap the video. I'm not even kidding. I spent almost as much time on this single mission alone than I did for each of the galactic conquests as a whole. Rant aside, I was able to eventually destroy the engines, hop back in my fighter, and blow up the control bridge, completing the second mission of the campaign. Only 16 more to go.
The Republic is well on its way to victory.
Watch your tail!
It's been said that the 501st got the best of the war. We also got the worst. On Felucia, the Seps dug their metal heels into the muck of that alien hellhole and dared the Republic to come in after them. So we did. Only to be met with the month after month of flesh-eating diseases, shrieking nocturnal predators, and other sights that haunt me to this day. Cut off and for all we knew, abandoned by our superiors. Our only hope was Ayla Secura, our Jedi commander. Without her iron will, none of us would have come out of that mess with our sanity or our lives. When her death came, I hope it was quick. She earned that much.
God, they really do just throw you right into it, don't they? Felucia for the third mission is insane. That being said, I think it's one of my favorite missions in the entire campaign. It opens up with us having to kill the thing that almost killed Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Attack of the Clones. And after killing 6 of them, you need to defend the damaged ATTE for a few minutes in a wave defense-styled segment.
Moving in this direction. Defend the ATTE until Jedi Master Secura arrives.
With the ATTE successfully defended, you get to play as Ayla Secura and head off to secure a backup power cell for the damaged tank. She's one of the better heroes in the game, so once you unlock her, the mission itself is a breeze. That is, unless you walk into one of the Acklays, because they can fucking one-shot you.
Carry the force with you, always.
I have no idea what attempt I'm on by this point. 19? 20? 20 sounds good, let's go with that. For my 20th attempt, I swapped over to an engineer to take on the Acklays. This worked much better since I could just drop C4 and let them walk over it. Same thing with the defense portion. I could hang back and let the droids come to me, then 1 or 2 shot them and keep it moving. During all the chaos, I completely forgot to watch those wrist rockets. For my 21st attempt, I went in as a sniper. Not as effective as an engineer, but still pretty deadly.
Defend the ATTE until Jedi Master Secura arrives.
Bullseye! Great shooting, trooper!
After surviving the 2-minute defense timer, I was able to successfully destroy the enemy cannons and complete the third mission of the playthrough.
Nice work. The Separatists assault on Felucia has been severely crippled. We have them on the run.
Now it's onto Kashyyyk. But before the ground invasion, it's time for a space battle.
When the Separatists' invasion of Kashyyyk caught the Republic flat-footed, a detachment of the 501st was sent in to stop the bleeding until reinforcements could arrive. It was a textbook suicide mission and we knew it. As we fought our way into Kashyyyk's atmosphere, most of us believed that the only way we'd be getting off this planet was in a body bag.
Luckily for me, we can use the actual bombers now instead of those shitty starfighters, which means I can go back to my cookie-cutter method of destroying enemy frigates in peace.
Check out that transport!
One more. ship gunners are pounding our shields. Take out those heavy turrets.
This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill.
After making some much-needed repairs, it was back out to destroy their heavy turrets.
One more.
They've launched the transport.
Well done, pilot. Head back to the hangar for your next objective.
After those were taken care of, it was back to the hangar to swap over to the LAAT gunship and bring it into the enemy hangar. The first time I did it though, the objective didn't complete, so I had to hop back in, exit the hangar, and re-enter it, losing a third of my reinforcements in the process.
Alright, troopers, make your way to their critical systems and destroy their fuel and life support systems.
With both the life support and engines destroyed, my next task was to steal a holocron and bring it back to the Republic hangar.
All hands to battle stations. Repeat, all hands to battle stations.
Well done.
Easy enough. Now, it's on to Kashyyyk.
When we arrived on Kashyyyk, things were just as bad as we feared. The droids had us outgunned, outmaneuvered, and outmanned by a 5-to-1 margin. What none of us had counted on was the Wookiees. We'd all heard the stories, of course, but we'd never fought next to them. Never seen them rip apart a droid with their bare hands. They were magnificent. Even so, it was still a suicide mission. At least it was until Master Yoda arrived. Then it became a battle. A winnable battle.
This is it, men. We have to hold this beachhead until reinforcements arrive. No retreats, no excuses.
I always loved the ground defense of Kashyyyk because I'm a sucker for defensive missions, and what better way to kick this one off than by needing to hold the beach for 3 minutes while we set up defenses behind the seawall.
Fall back behind the seawall. We must protect the Wookiee base.
Now, after surviving the initial attack, our next objective is to simply defend the oil refinery for 4 minutes. It may sound simple, but it's much easier said than done, and I found myself constantly having to run down and repair the seawall gate just to prevent enemy tanks from rolling in.
Grenade, get down!
They're breached the sea wall. Brace yourselves.
And they just don't learn, do they?
Sea wall. Brace yourselves.
They're coming around.
They've breached the sea wall. Brace yourselves. Way to hold them back, man. Now let's push forward and send them packing.
Proud I am to stand by Wookiees in their hour of need.
Anyway, with the seawall defended, it's time for Master Yoda to join the battle and push back the droid armies by retaking the beach.
Great work, troops. Kashyyyk lives to fight another day.
Following the defense of Kashyyyk, we have Utapau. All I remember from playing this like 20 years ago is the fact that you fight General Grievous at the end, so this should be interesting. I'm on a decent run so far though, and haven't had to restart in the last 2 missions.
In our bones, we knew the war was almost over. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see which side would make the final, daring move. As fortune would have it, the Republic moved first. After the Chancellor informed the Jedi Council that General Grievous and the Sept leaders were hiding on Utapau, General Kenobi gathered an army large enough to capture 3 star systems. When the orders reached the 501st, our morale soared. For better or worse, this would be the beginning of the end.
There is a 2-story building just a bit southwest of your position. Assault that command post.
First things first, we needed to capture a command post to serve as a lookout point.
Capture the CP. Will serve as an excellent lookout point for our mission.
Take out that sniper! We've got AATs coming.
Well done. Now secure Hangar 10, and we'll send in a dropship to back you up. General.
Once that was captured, we continued pushing down the highway, securing additional command posts and pushing back the droid armies. With the entire highway system secured, we pushed into Hangar 10. Fortunately, as we closed in on it, Obi-Wan Kenobi entered the battle.
Feel the force.
For the Republic!
And with the hangar secured, we engaged General Grievous in one final duel, overpowering him and force pushing him off the hangar, sending him plunging thousands of feet to his death below.
Feel the force.
All that was left to do now was destroy the energy core.
Nice work. Destroy the other gun and Hangar 10 will be ours. For the Republic, we are victorious.
Just like that, the first act is over. Order 66 has been given, which means it's time to march on the Jedi Temple.
With the death of General Grievous at the hands of General Kenobi, the Utapau raid had broken the back of the Separatists. Under normal circumstances, it would have been a time for celebration. But our next orders put paid to those thoughts. What I remember about the rise of the Empire is how quiet it was. During the waning hours of the Clone Wars, the 501st Legion was discreetly transferred back to Coruscant. It was a silent trip. We all knew what was about to happen, what we're about to do. Did we have any doubts? Any private, traitorous thoughts? Perhaps, but no one said a word. Not on the flight to Coruscant, not when Order 66 came down, and not when we marched into the Jedi Temple. Not a word.
This has gotta be one of the coolest missions in the entire campaign. You get to raid the Jedi Temple and kill a bunch of Jedi, and you get to play as Anakin. This is also an incredibly difficult mission, mainly due to all the fucking Jedi that get spawned in on every turn. As it turns out though, even Jedi are no match for C4. With the council chambers captured, we headed over to the library to prevent the Jedi from destroying the archives.
Attention troops. Double time to the library. The Jedi are attempting to destroy the library's holobooks. In direct defiance of command. Stop them.
The problem here wasn't dying to the Jedi. It was defending the fucking bookcases because they damn near one-shot them. You basically need to kill all of the Jedi as they land and then do that 2 more times. It's a bit ridiculous. I got to the point though where the first objective was a cakewalk. I knew when and where the Jedi spawned in, so I could just toss a detonator there and wait for them to land before pushing onward. But the fucking library was practically impossible. I say practically impossible because after spending about 45 minutes on this mission, I finally managed to defend it. My strategy? Recruit 2 other engineers to follow me, spam C4, and guard 1 bookcase with my life. Then, during the downtime, frantically repair any of the bookcases I could get to. With that portion finally completed, it's on to retrieving holocrons.
A pair of holocrons, rumored to contain the sum of Sith and Jedi knowledge. The first one is located on the comm room. Retrieve it and bring it to the veranda.
The first one is over in the comm center. This next portion was much easier though. You just need to go slow, kill the Jedi behind the corners, and keep someone next to you to use as a meat shield if one gets too close.
There he is, near the Star Chamber. You must defeat this Jedi and bring his holocron to the veranda drop-off point.
After dropping off the first holocron, you're told to defeat a Jedi Master who's carrying the second one. Luckily, at this point, you get Anakin Skywalker as a hero who's, I think, the most powerful hero in the game. This was super easy since I could just force choke the guy and then cut him down. With both holocrons recovered, it's time to slay 3 more Jedi Masters. I used the same method of force choking them until they were close, pause, and then cut through them with my lightsaber.
Our new Emperor will be pleased. Primary mission objectives complete.
With the fall of Coruscant and the elimination of the traitorous Jedi, Palpatine's rise to power was complete. In recognition of our service and loyalty to the Emperor, the 501st were placed under the direct command of Lord Vader. Armed with deadly new weapons, blazing new ships, and shiny new armor, our presence let the galaxy know that the days of the old Republic were well and truly over. We were establishing a new era. An era of order and peace.
The scoreboard does have 1 death listed on it now, but I'm pretty sure that's when I died as I failed the library section, so I'm just gonna keep it. Oh well, we push forward. Remember like a few minutes ago when I said we were done with Act 1? Well, just kidding. Now, we're done with the first phase. The Republic is no more. We're officially on the rise of the Empire.
During the rise of the Empire, the Emperor's home planet of Naboo rapidly established itself as a major irritant. After a number of Naboo's ambassadors were sent home in various states of dismemberment, her newly elected queen broke off diplomatic ties and began exploring military options. Clearly, it was time for a regime change. A change that would be affected by the 501st, now under the direct command of Darth Vader. Our orders were simple: to infiltrate the city, take out their leader, sending a clear signal to other potential troublemakers in the Empire.
What I love about the campaign, too, is that it adds some extra sauce to fill in the events between Order 66 and the movies. For instance, we get to go to Naboo and execute the Queen, because she won't stop running her mouth about Palpatine's new look.
By a group of Jedi and an auto-turret grid. In order to defeat these defenses, we must set up a perimeter around the central plaza and shut down the auto-turret grid. Careful, soldier. Your numbers are few, and the mission's success rests on your shoulders.
The setup is that she's hanging out in the plaza, and we need to weaken defenses before taking her on. It's worth mentioning here that they felt the need to tell me that we don't have a lot of reinforcements, so you need to kind of speedrun this mission. I think it's meant to be more covert instead of full-on invasion, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Regardless, I do really like how they have their own outfits instead of just being rebel reskins. The best way to go about this is to capture the first command post and then swing all the way back around to the fountains, since the plaza is still heavily defended by auto turrets.
Past the embassy. If you need some extra firepower, we've managed to sneak a tank for you at the embassy command post. Excellent. Now we must destroy the auto-turret grid console, clearing access to the central plaza. Destroy it, and the Queen will be ours.
Hey, shooting!
We're almost out of reinforcements.
Once the Queen was surrounded, I was able to destroy the auto turret defense grid. I will say though, this was the first time where I almost ran out of reinforcements, and we still had more objectives to pull off. Like, I had 3 left when I blew up the console. But even with low reinforcements, I was still able to kill off a dozen more Jedi and take out the Queen, forcing Naboo to fall in line and giving the 501st the nickname Vader's Fist. Another cool component of the campaign is the fact that you get battles like this, where you get to be the Empire fighting the droid armies. It's not something that can be done in the vanilla game outside of the campaign, and the fights are awesome. But before we get to the ground battle, I need to make it through another space mission. Buckle up, there's a big rant in this one.
It was the first time the 501st was called upon to adjust a planet's government. But it wouldn't be the last. Within months, the 501st gained a well-deserved reputation as Vader's Fist. Although the Clone Wars were over, some people never seemed to get the message. The worst case of denial was Gizor Delso, a Geonosian separatist who'd somehow escaped Lord Vader's efforts to wipe out the remnants of the CIS. Lord Vader tracked him to Mustafar and brought us in to finish the job. It seemed like a simple enough mission, but when we saw the fleet of droid ships hovering over the planet, we suddenly realized that Delso's denial mechanisms were a little more dangerous than we'd imagined.
And what better way to start a space mission than with the droids invading your hangar?
Calm down, pilot. Get out there and destroy that transport. Use any means necessary to clear the hangar.
Watch where you're shooting!
After successfully destroying their landing ship, I took out the remaining droids idling around our hangar and got in a bomber to take out their frigates.
Return to battle!
It wasn't until after I'd blown up one of the enemy frigates that I realized I actually needed to destroy 8 droid fighters. God, I'm such an idiot.
Fire on that bomber! Chase down that bomber! Leave the bomber to me.
After successfully destroying 8 enemy fighters, I was tasked with attacking and destroying their shields. And naturally, as soon as I made it within range of the enemy cruiser, I've said it once, and I'll say it again, I fucking hate space battles. This game's gonna break me mentally, holy fuck. I like the ground battles where you can actually use tactics and strategy. The space battles are quite literally just dealing with overwhelming odds, and it feels like there's so many times where you just die. You didn't do anything wrong, you didn't get outplayed or anything. The enemy just has triple the amount of pilots that you do, and because of that, they can allocate 4 fighters to constantly chase you, and that's not fun to me. Like, how the hell do you even counter this? You don't. You just keep replaying the fucking battle until eventually you get lucky. You seen my point yet? I made it 1 second out of the hangar and boom, insta-kill. On the off chance you do finally destroy 8 fighters and the enemy cruiser's shields, you then need to land in the enemy hangar, steal a bomber, and bring it back without getting gunned down in the process.
Attention in the hangar. Scramble all reinforcements. Roger, roger. Fighters hanging behind you. Enemy target behind you.
Now hear this. All hands man your battle stations.
Excellent job, pilots. Lord
Thank
Vader will be most
God.
pleased.
And to think we've still got 8 missions to go. And luckily for me, out of all of those, there's only 1 space battle left.
The slight whiff of nostalgia the 501st had enjoyed fighting the droid fleet over Mustafar had already grown sour by the time we'd established orbital positions. Now it was time to find out what this was all about.
Alright, I took a few days off of the campaign. I slept good last night. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Let's finish this on a positive note.
Our way to the molten surface of Mustafar. It was apparent that Delso had been a busy little bug. All by his lonesome, he'd found a previously hidden droid factory, fired it up and cranked out his own private army of battle droids. Needless to say, this got the men of the 501st a little hot under the helmet, and not just because of all that lava. Truth be told, we'd all had our fill of those gearheads during the war, and we couldn't stomach the thought of going through another one. So we blew them up. Blew up the droids, blew up the factory. Damn near blew up the planet.
Starting with eradicating some Geonosian insurrectionists on Mustafar. As the story goes, the Geonosians stumbled upon a factory on Mustafar and pumped out his own droid army, and it's up to us to destroy it. Our first objective was to take the observatory room, so I rushed in to meet the droids head on. Once the observation room was secured, we pushed onto the walkway to capture that command post as well. This was incredibly easy since the droids didn't even come out until I was already capturing it. The only way this could go wrong is if I did something stupid like roll off the edge of the map. Fuck. Alright, let's try this again.
That nearby mining facility. Move them out. Take control of the lava observation room.
Watch your flanks.
Take control of the walkway.
Once I made it back to the walkway section, I made sure to hang back and stand as still as possible so that I didn't repeat the same mistake as last time. Easy. Looking back, most of this mission is just capturing the various command posts throughout the map. Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever blown myself up prematurely detonating before. This usually never happens. They were just so pretty. I've honestly lost count of how many attempts I'm at, so I'm just gonna go by mission for now. I just want to get this over with. Third time's the charm.
Watch your flanks.
That collection base looks like a good place to make a stand.
Glad you're on our side.
Any droid we don't destroy today will come back to haunt us tomorrow.
With the third command post captured, we're now tasked with finding and destroying the droid prototype schematics that the Geonosians are using to create a new droid army with. While I used my C4 to blow up the schematics, other members of the 501st went with the monkey bar guys approach and suicide bombed the terminals. I prefer my way though.
One of our boys got killed bringing the other beacon.
With the prototype destroyed, I was sent off to find and retrieve the orbital strike beacon. I think they want you to run through the conference room and back into the shit show, but I took the long route around all of it. Sure, there were some auto turrets and rogue thermal detonators to dodge, but I was able to successfully place the beacon and move on to the final objective, which was to kill Geyser Delso. You're spammed with enemies while this dude flies around with one of those Magna Guard rocket pistol things, so you're already dealing with the droids, but now there's also the Geonosian bugs flying around and causing chaos. But even with all of that unfolding around me, I was able to find and kill Geyser Delso, securing another victory for the 501st Legion.
Scratch one droid rebellion.
Officially, there never was a clone rebellion on Kamino. Unofficially, approximately 20 years after we were created, a special detachment of the Imperial 501st Legion was dispatched to Kamino with orders to eradicate an army of clones that had been bred to take arms against the Empire. Our mission commander, an expert on the inner workings of Kamino, was a young bounty hunter named Boba Fett.
So, you know how I was just talking about how I love that the campaign adds missions like this where you fight droids as the Empire? Well, what if you could fight, I don't know, stormtroopers versus clones? That'd be pretty sweet, right? But there's no way they'd ever let that slide. Oh my god. You also get to play as Boba Fett, which is always a plus, though I was unsure of it since they want you to play as him right away. Now, if you don't know or you're new to Battlefront 2, the heroes bleed health so that they eventually die, regardless of what you do. The only way to gain health back is to get kills, but there's diminishing returns in the fact that no matter what you do or how much you accomplish, you're essentially on a time limit and will eventually die. So, armed with that knowledge, let's try to speedrun this mission.
Our reinforcement level is critical. Our reinforcement level is critical.
After blowing up a door, we're told we need to collect DNA samples so that the clones can't continue cloning. I'd think that was a job for the Kardashians, but I guess we'll need to take one for the team here.
Is that all you've got?
Get that sample back to ship immediately.
With the DNA secured and our cheeks clenched tightly, it's time to push back in and begin capturing command posts.
You know your objective.
Luckily, it was just one command post, and now that it's under our control, we can push inside and destroy the clone life support systems filled with unborn fetuses of clone troopers. We're basically the Star Wars version of Planned Parenthood.
Is that all you've got?
This was a really cool mission though, because not only are you fighting against the Phase 1 armored clones, but they've also got jet troopers and commanders all with reskinned and recolored armor, and I love it. It's such a nice added touch. Anyway, with the life support systems destroyed, all that's left to do now is destroy the gunships trying to flee the planet. The first one was incredibly easy, but the second one, well, it's up and flying around, firing back at you. It's at this point that I'd like to remind you about how we're on a limited health pool, and as my last rocket blew up the final gunship, I took a few blaster shots to the back and died as we achieved victory, meaning it's time to redo the entire mission. On my second attempt, I blew through the entire mission, making it back to the gunships, but when I went to blow the first one up, I got stuck on top, glitched between the back portion and the middle. Gotta love it.
I'm done. When do I get paid?
Turret, take him down. Objective complete. Clone pod life support down. Transport's down. They're trapped. Think that's the last we'll be seeing of those guys. I sure hope so.
This job's finished. I'm out of here.
Finally! Holy shit.
The bounty hunter left after the battle was over. He said something about tracking down a smuggler on Tatooine. After the Camino uprising, the Emperor decided that an army of genetically identical soldiers was too susceptible to corruption. Future troopers would be cloned from a variety of templates. Though the 501st itself remained pure, the rest of the Imperial Army gradually became more and more diverse. We never really got used to the new guys.
Alright, with Camino taken care of, it's over to the Death Star. There's a prison break taking place, and it's up to us to stop them.
Once it was finally finished, the Death Star was the Emperor's favorite toy. It was also the most boring assignment in the galaxy for a stormtrooper. Tedious inspection drills, endless hours of guarding impregnable force field generators. Things got so bad that when a prison break erupted in the cell block, we were almost happy to have someone shooting at us again. If only we'd known what an embarrassing snipe storm we were about to wade into. We probably would have jettisoned the whole detention block into space.
This is another banger of a mission, and it starts off with defending the hangar for the 501st land on their way back from an inspection. After holding off the rebel attack for 2 minutes, we're able to push them back and continue advancing into the prison cell block. This is probably one of my all-time favorite maps to play on in instant action as well. I just love the layout of it. You've got these massive open hangars, winding hallways, secret passages, and the cell block shootouts are always so much fun. They also throw in all these small little Easter eggs and references to A New Hope, like having a vent that you can shoot that leads to the trash compactor, just like they did in the movie. Anyway, our next task is a capture the flag event, where we need to kill the rebel who got his hands on some of our plans. Kill the man, and retain control of the information they're carrying. Now, while I was dicking around by the trash compactor, some of the 501st had already managed to kill the rebel before I got up there, so this was a cakewalk. All I had to do was grab the info and bring it back to the prison section.
Well done.
Next up was retaking the fire control room. It's the room with the massive Death Star laser cannon. I don't know if it works in the campaign, but I 100% remember fighting here on instant action and watching it charge up and fire, and it's just another amazing little detail that the map designers thought to add. Like, seriously, if you take one thing away from this video, the map designers for Battlefront 2 deserve as much praise as we could possibly give them. Funny enough, as I was typing this out, I looked back and the cannon was charging up, so enjoy the spectacle. Now, I get it may not seem like much by 2024 standards, but back in 2004, this was the most immersive thing to me. I'd pretend I was in this massive battle and had to take control of the Death Star before it destroyed the rebel fleet just outside, and seeing the cannon go off, I'd imagine that it was taking out all of our cruisers, which made 8-year-old me stress out over capturing the objectives as quickly as possible. Just so many good memories from this game. I'm getting distracted though. I just need to focus on retaking the other hangar. The rebels are trying to escape in one of our transport ships, and we can't let that happen. With the ship destroyed, my last task was to take out a Jedi Padawan leading the uprising. I almost died here, but was able to successfully drop to the hangar floor, repair an ammo droid, and use that to drop health packs to recover. Now at full health, I took down the Jedi, ending the prison outbreak.
The rebel leader has been destroyed. Our reinforcements can take it from here. The uprising has been crushed. Well done, trooper. Lord Vader will be most pleased with your performance.
After the embarrassment of the prison break, Lord Vader removed us from our comfortable belay and began dragging the 501st across the galaxy in a dangerous hunt for the now missing Death Star plans. Ironically, our punishment eventually proved to be our salvation. The poor souls who took our place in the detention area were completely wiped out when the Death Star was destroyed.
Unfortunately, Death Star plans were stolen, but we were able to trace them over to Polis Massa.
By the time of the raid on Polis Massa, the men of the 501st were starting to get a little sick of this so-called rebellion. In the past, we'd secretly enjoyed putting down a local insurrection or two. They kept the troops sharp and the Empire feared. But these rebels were different. They were organized.
We launched a raid on the rock base, which mainly consisted of capturing command posts around the map, starting with the radar facility. What I wasn't aware of is that the rebel forces contained Bothan spies now. Can't wait for that to end a run or two. With the radar facility secured, I was tasked with retrieving a holodisk from the command center. This place seems oddly quiet when there aren't 500 grenades going off around you. Now, funny enough, I say that, and then dozens of rebel troops come storming out at us. After narrowly escaping death and retrieving the holotape, I had to push back through rebel forces to return it to the first command post. Now we need to defend it until the transmission is complete, i.e., defend the command post.
Within the caverns of this complex.
I managed to successfully hold off the rebels for 2 minutes until it was revealed that they had a secret databank in the caverns. My new task was to find and destroy it, and it just so happens to be all the way on the other side of the map. This was easily the most difficult portion of the mission, considering it's a literal uphill battle, and to make matters worse, the game just hurls Wookiees at you on top of their overwhelming forces. It's super annoying to deal with, but after a few minutes, we were able to push through and destroy the databank.
I've got good news.
Now all that's left to do is capture the hangar and get off this rock. The best strategy I could think to implement here was to ram a tank into the hangar, swap to the missile launcher on top, and spam that into the rebel spawns. This was my highest kill count of the entire campaign, coming in at 151 kills, literally enough to solo a galactic conquest battle.
Our raid is a success, and even though the holodisk didn't have the plans we're looking for, it will lead us to someone who does.
Even though the Polis Massa raid was only a partial success, we finally had a lead on the whereabouts of the Death Star plans, which suited the 501st just fine.
Now here's where we get into the A New Hope storyline as we participate in the raid of Princess Leia's ship.
With the information gathered on Polis Massa, Vader concluded that the stolen plans had been given to Princess Leia Organa of Alderaan. We weren't surprised. For all their talk of being a peaceful planet, Alderaan had been thumbing its nose at the Empire for years. After a brief and pointless battle, we boarded the ship, the Tantive 4, over Tatooine, began looking for the plans, and waited for Lord Vader's arrival.
It's another really cool map, but much like every other campaign mission, it starts with us capturing a command post. It's honestly another mission that's completely ruined by elite difficulty. Now, since the hallways are so tight, enemy can just spam grenades, and don't worry, they do. But hey, if they wanted to spam grenades, I'll just spam C4.
Grenade, get out! Where's the sniper? Friendly fire! Scum this.
With most of the fighting taking place in the Meng hangar, I was able to dip off to the side and capture the command post before swapping to Darth Vader. As Lord Vader, I set out to destroy the security mainframe scattered throughout the ship. It's just these little terminals that can be destroyed in one hit, so it made for pretty easy work.
Watch your flank. Watch it!
We need the ship's access codes to gain entry to the escape pod areas.
With the security mainframe destroyed, I began my next task, which was finding codes to access the escape pods. And I will say, the best part of this map as a hero is that a lightsaber throw in one of these hallways almost guarantees at least 3 kills every time. Anyway, with the codes in hand, we now need to capture Princess Leia.
Around the princess.
All in all, it only took 2 attempts to complete this mission, and I'll take that considering the first one was just getting unlucky with grenade spam.
After Lord Vader took custody of Princess Leia, we all figured it was just a matter of time before she coughed up the plans. Many of us had been unwilling witnesses to Vader's powers of persuasion in the past. The thought of a pampered little princess resisting his terrible will was inconceivable.
And just like that, we're on to the final space battle of the playthrough, and I'm gonna throw up if it takes me another 2 hours to get through it.
When the Death Star was destroyed, about half of the 501st Legion was still in the hangar getting into their ships. Of those who made it out, another third were caught in the explosion. I'd fought with some of those men for over 20 years. Afterwards, those of us that survived hooked up with a nearby Imperial fleet making a retaliatory strike on the Rebels' base on Yavin 4. It wasn't the best thought-out plan, but we were cut off from our leaders, tired and operating on instinct. If not for our training, we probably would have never gotten past their orbital defenses.
Honestly though, really didn't mind this battle. It starts off with you having to destroy 5 transport ships, which I was able to do without issue. And once those are destroyed, it's over to their frigates. These are easy to deal with as well, though it was clear that the enemy pilots were ramping up at this point. But with the transports and frigates destroyed, the real challenge starts to kick in. They wanted me to swap to a TIE interceptor and weaken their fighter presence. Great.
All hands, man your battle stations.
I'm deploying. Watch it. Fighter on your tail.
Yep. Exactly how I'd imagined this was gonna go. For my second attempt, I weakened the frigates first before destroying the rest of the transports to try and speed everything up a bit. Then I swapped over to my homing missiles and took them out from a distance.
You picked up a fighter.
Next up, more dogfighting. And I tried to stay right next to my cruiser for most of this, since we had the advantage with our auto turret defenses. From there, I just spammed missiles on cooldown until eventually I was able to take out all 10 fighters.
Careful, there's a recon bomber on your 6. You picked up a fighter.
Well done, pilots.
I wish this was the end, but we've reached the point in the campaign where each mission has like 10 or 13 steps now instead of 3 like on Felucia. So we now need to get back into a TIE bomber and destroy the enemy heavy turrets.
Top of mine.
Now get after those entrance men. They can't jump if they haven't any.
I don't know why they had us do that before we took out their engines, but fuck it, I'm just following orders.
Radar non-operational. Switching to manual.
Victory is ours, men. Dispatch the 501st to the planet's surface. Yavin 4 will fall before the day is done.
And so the battle over Yavin came to an end. I'm told we destroyed hundreds of rebel ships that day. Even if it had been thousands, it wouldn't have made up for the Death Star.
Glad to see there was a whopping 1 pilot with a kill. Love it. A+ teamwork right there. And to think it only took 2 attempts.
By the time we landed on Yavin, whatever shock we'd felt at the destruction of the Death Star had been replaced by anger. For months we'd treated the rebellion like a disobedient child, only to be repaid for our tolerance with treachery on an unimaginable scale. Frankly, I don't remember much of the fighting. I guess we won.
With the final space battle put away, we can now invade Yavin 4.
They're trying to flank us. Wipe them out. Hit the dirt now!
Great start. On my second attempt, we got off to a much better start and actually captured a command post. Just kidding, I got one shot by a Wookiee with aimbot. For my third attempt, I simply sat in this turret until we secured the area, then hopped out to capture the command post.
Copy that.
Our next objective is to capture the command post under the viaduct. Gather your forces.
With this one captured, we set out to do a completely unique and interesting objective and capture another command post.
Concentrate firepower on that tank. Wait.
Oh gee, I wonder what we'll do next. Do you think it's another command post? It's another command post.
It will make a good staging area for the assault of the temple.
I like how the game decided I've moved too quickly through this portion and just threw a dozen missiles at me to try and live through. After securing a third command post, we were now tasked with defending it for 2 minutes as rebel forces and tanks converged on our position. I did manage to survive this assault by simply hiding next to a health droid and constantly repairing it. Now, we get to a truly unique objective. Finally. We have to plant a breaching bomb at the entrance to the base. It's got a 10-second timer to allow us to get to a safe distance as well, so as long as we plant it, we should be good. And luckily, I was able to hop into one of our tanks to ride over and retrieve the bomb with it. Once it was in my possession, I just needed to hover over the entrance with the tank to place the bomb. The door's blown off. We're told to decapitate the rebel leaders, which seems a bit extreme, but okay. Alright.
Vengeance is ours, men. The spirits of our fallen brothers will sleep soundly tonight.
After the battle, the surviving members of the 501st finally caught their breath. The Empire had taken the rebels' best shot and come up standing. Now, it was our turn to strike.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's time for our final battle, the Hoth Invasion, Mission 18. It's all been building to this.
No one ever complained about the cold on Hoth. We never felt it. Even though we were blinded by blizzards, we could see the final end of the rebellion in our blaster sights. Was it only a mirage, perhaps? But on that day, on that planet, our blood ran hot with dreams of victory, melting the ice that stood in our way.
We've got 21 minutes to end the Rebel Alliance. First things first, we need to capture command posts. Shocker. At least we get to use the AT-ATs, or AT-ATs if you're a fucking narc. When I wasn't using them, I was finally utilizing the shock troopers to cover most of the open ground between cover. There were a few close calls along the way, but before I knew it, both command posts had been captured and we were targeting their shield generators.
All units ready to commence attack on the shield generator.
We were only down to one AT-AT by this point though, mainly because it was sitting in back by the first command post that I'd used to capture it. No idea why, but apparently no one had spawned in it, and it was just sitting there. Oh well, I mean, I guess we really only need one, right? I love that they threw in a little cutscene taken from the movie here. I don't know why, I just thought it was really funny. With the shield generator destroyed, we pushed into the enemy hangar, leaving our AT-ATs behind to do snow things. The shock trooper is fantastic here since it can chain multiple enemies when charged up.
Watch your fire!
Excellent. Now take out the security console in the command center to gain access to the back hangar. We must destroy the final transport before it can escape. Excellent work, Lieutenant. I'll inform Lord Vader.
I did fuck up here though, and accidentally spawned in Darth Vader at the rogue AT-AT way back at the beginning of the map, instead of in the hangar, which melted a chunk of my health before even finding the rebels in the tunnels. This will come back to haunt me later. By the time I'd made it into the tunnels, most of the rebels were already dead. Now it's time to capture the back hangar and take out the remaining rebel ships.
Feel the power of the dark side.
With the hangar secured, we're tasked with placing an orbital strike beacon on the enemy transport ship and then defending it. Something that's a bit too difficult to deal with while handling a hero who constantly bleeds health. Meaning, we need to run this back and not play as Vader. My second attempt went about the same as the first. This time, however, when I got to the second hangar and needed to grab the beacon, I stayed back and sniped all the turrets and most of the rebels before swapping back to a shock trooper and planting it.
Now protect the beacon while we lock in your current position. Coordinates confirmed. Vacate the area immediately. Our attack on the transport will begin momentarily.
And just like that, After 18 missions and several days of spamming restart mission and ripping my hair out, we've made it through the entire Battlefront 2 campaign. So, here are my thoughts on it. I think it's a fantastic campaign with a ton of really cool missions and some insanely repetitive ones, but it's entirely sabotaged by elite difficulty, making it a massive pain in the ass. I think it'd probably be a shit ton of fun to play on normal difficulty. All of the unique maps and layouts are squandered when the enemy just spawns in at double the rate and sometimes triple your soldier's rate, and then just sits back and spams grenades down a corridor. Not to mention the Wookiees or dozens of starfighter pilots all coming equipped with aimbot technology. Let's put it this way, it's fun to play, but I'm glad it's over. I do think it's a massive step up in difficulty compared to the Galactic Conquest battles though, mainly because all of the enemies are funneled into one objective at a time instead of split between 6. But that's not a bad thing at all, it's just a different experience. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any other games or challenges you'd like to see, let me know down in the comments. With that, I'm gonna get out of here though. I appreciate you all, go call a loved one, and thanks for stopping by.